Welcome back to your newest obsession, the NeuroSpicy Mom Pod. As always, I'm your host, Austin Marie, and I am so happy you're here. If you're new around here, this is the little corner of the internet where we explore neuroscience, psychology, neurodivergence, healing, reparenting, and all of the beautiful, messy ways those things intersect in our everyday lives. My goal is always the same, to help you better understand your brain so you can understand yourself with a little more compassion. Today's guest is someone I have been looking forward to talking with for quite a while. Joining me today is Lee Alberts. Lee is a late diagnosed AuDHDer, a graduate student working towards becoming a licensed mental health counselor, and a passionate advocate for disability rights and social justice, which you know I'm obsessed with. She also lives with chronic illnesses, including endometriosis and PMOS, and brings such an important perspective to the conversation around how neurodivergence and chronic health conditions often overlap. Lee's story also includes surviving the troubled teen industry as an undiagnosed neurodivergent kid, an experience that shaped so much of the work she does today. One of the things I admire most about her is the way she bridges research, lived experience, and advocacy while still making people feel seen and understood. Today, we're talking about what it means to discover your neurodivergence later in life, the connection between neurodivergence and chronic illness, why the language around PCOS is changing, how disability justice intersects with mental health, and ultimately, what healing can look like when you've spent years believing your body or your brain was somehow the problem. I know this conversation is going to leave so many of you feeling validated, informed, and hopefully a little less alone. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's welcome Lee to the NeuroSpicy Mom Pod.
Thank you so much, Austin, I can call you Austin, right?
Yes, please.
For that really lovely introduction. That was so eloquent.
Thank you. Well, welcome to the NeuroSpicy fam. I'm so happy. And thank you for your patience. We've had to reschedule and we had a little tech issues, but you were very patient with me. So thank you and
you're
welcome.
always so articulate. And so it's just okay. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of my introduction. I mean, you said it so well, but I was formally diagnosed a year ago with level 1 autism spectrum disorder at age 35. So then I self-identify now with ADHD as well. Plus, I call myself an AuDHDer. So that was a really recent experience within the past year for me. So it's all very kind of fresh.
Yeah.
And
I like to say that we're in our messy middle of the journey part still, because I mean that's like yesterday. You're really
in the
just
thick of it.
Yeah, you're in the thick of it, and it really is. I think the late in life is so important because there is a difference between when your whole life you kind of understand how, there's this way that your brain works or you need these supports, as opposed to being in your 30s. And I think I was 35. I think I was turning 36 to the day where everything happened, where it's I realized I was the neurodivergence diagnosis was coming up in with my doctors, and I realized I was in a narcissistic marriage, and it's oh, you mean that age when our brain fully forms, and then all of a sudden you're wait, there's something going on.
There's a totally a domino effect, or there was for me, of what you said. I mean, I discovering so much about my identity that I wasn't allowed or even permitted, or I didn't permit myself to even know myself because of all of these, the neurodivergence and then the chronic illness.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the trauma piece has a big part of that too, but it's all connected. So that's kind of our theme, isn't it? So
it's kind of like you pull that one thread and it just very quickly falls apart.
Then it feels kind of good while you're tumbling down into
well, you're I kind
reality.
I kind of felt a little validated because it's I told you, I wasn't just making it up. But being late in life diagnosed, and I was just talking to this about my therapist, I can talk about it and I can see other people, and I can even talk to my kids about this is your disability. I'm not saying you're disabled, but in our society, the way that our brains work, we are disabled by it. But I have a really hard time, even with having been diagnosed with it was PCOS back in my day, but now I know they changed the name.
Yeah.
And PMDD, I've been officially diagnosed with PMDD, and knowing how many women who are neurodivergent also have PMDD. And it's you're just told to Yeah, I'm sure it's so bad. Like, I'm sure
Pain is your lifestyle, get
yeah.
used to having a uterus. Well, it's not even about that. It's actually I'm gonna jump ahead. It's an endocrine, metabolic, non-gender,
We haven't even been
biological
in the right
something.
yeah,
Like,
we were not even in the
not
right
even close.
office. We were
Not
going to
even there.
yeah, we were going to our
Go
gyno
around.
when we needed to be going to an endocrinologist. Like, you guys don't even have us going to the right people. But it was our normal. So now, late in life, being told, like, oh, now you're disabled. No, you're disabled. I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I should be able to do this.
Well, even
Like,
if you are quote unquote disabled, it's not a very affirming way that our society works with it, even though we may have ideals about, and some people are better with it than others in terms of like practicing what they preach about respecting people's bodies and minds.
you said you're level 1, which means you've gone your whole life masking.
And I kinda talk about my flat they told me I had flat affect when I first went to my very first therapist, and I'm like, now I know that it's alexithymia or
Yeah.
like all these things I was told that I was depressed, but I was burned out, or I was this, but I was that. And I was a formerly gifted/cursed.
Yeah.
I taught male too. I feel like there's all these similarities.
Similarities. Yeah. There really
But
is.
it's really bad because the being a gifted kid in the 90s and 2000s is devastating to a lot of people in their as they grow older.
Yeah, and I was a conundrum because I was reading so far ahead of my age, even as a second I was an English language learner, and so I was like, I felt like I was always catching up, but suddenly I was, like, reading these books, and I'm like, "How did I even do that? Because 'Cause I'm super dyslexic." Like,
So
not getting
that's
any of the
called
support.
you know what that's called, right?
Mm,
I just learned this. It's called hyperlexia, so
what
it's like
yes.
it's made my life make so much sense because everybody was always telling me, "Oh, you're so smart, and blah, 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 you'll be
Mhm.
fine," because I could read so advanced at a young age, but I wasn't comprehending necessarily what I was reading all of the time, but it's
Yeah.
an aspect of what they used to call we don't call it that anymore, it's level 1, but
Mhm.
an aspect of that is hyperlexia and being able to sort of like and it doesn't have to be words. I mean, a lot of people have a spiky profile where they have, you know, really a really splinter skill or really strong strengths because it's how our brain works when
Mhm.
our brain has extra neurons. Not to brag.
No, I mean, like, let's brag. Like, let's brag about this because those extra neurons also mean we're taking in just so much ambient
That's the
information
sensory
all the time.
discomfort part. It
Exactly.
it
And,
comes
like, it's
no
crazy.
skin. Like,
Yeah, it's crazy to me that as an educator, I wasn't taught any of this, to go into classrooms, to be surrounded with
my
kids.
biggest struggle why I had to quit being in classrooms was my social difficulties.
Yeah,
I'm still facing that,
I can
even though I
imagine
work on
that.
it.
Towards the end of my teaching career, my teaching career was also a journey where I did not even know about neurodivergence going into it, except for getting the IEPs of my students. And I became getting very invested in making sure I was meeting all of those needs and supports. And then by the end of my program, it was completely centered around neuro-inclusive, trauma-informed practices. And I was just like, I've never come up for air. I'm just in
Mhm,
that neurodivergence bubble. But like you said, I always my social issues were called shy and that
mhm,
I was an English language learner. So she just, she's shy. She can't really talk to the other kids. And as a teacher, and I would see these girls who were reading so well, who could have conversations with always hanging around an adult. And I was that same kid, always with an
mhm.
adult. And
Teacher's
I would
pet.
Yes. And I would go to the meetings and where we have the chance to bring up students who I'm like, I would like this student to get some extra support. Can we look more into it? Unless they're throwing chairs, unless they cannot write a letter, unless they're failing with like some academic sense, we have no supports for these girls. And I would get in heated debates with my principal. She got so annoyed with me. And it's like, listen, academic support is not the only support a child needs, but I would get these girls assessed and then they would come out with an autism diagnosis and the parents would be thanking me, but then they'd be like, now what? And I'm like, I am so sorry.
I don't even
We have no program set up. I can in our own classroom, I can support her and we can practice scripting and we can practice, like, what do you do in this situation? But we have no supports specifically for little girls who are intelligent, but who just need more explicit social practice. And it breaks my
Really
heart.
got me thinking about, and I'm going to take a turn with it, but it shows you that our environments, they value compliance more than they value the mental health of young girls. And I'm saying young girls on purpose
Yes.
because we're the ones who got left under the radar and
Yeah.
under the radar, I mean.
It
So,
wasn't like this is interesting. This little, like, you are a toddler and you're just sitting quietly by yourself looking at books
dude,
for
I got
hours.
locked in my room when I had tantrums. That's
Yeah.
a really good way to deal with that, right? Because then
Right?
I would just be alone and it would escalate.
Yeah. And
I don't wanna go into my family background too much, but I use that as an example of, like, just the lack of understanding and education and how, I mean, this it's bad,
it
so.
is. Well, and how I feel, I mean, I can go on my soapbox forever about, like, what is our school system really teaching?
Right.
And like you said, the things that we praise in our school system, and then the way that we were raised, we were taught that, like, your emotions are too big. We don't want to see them. We don't want to hear them. Go deal with them on your own. When you're done, you can come back out. And when you're quiet, when you're not bothering anyone, look at you. Oh my gosh, you're
Yeah.
so well behaved. You're so mature. You're so responsible. We were praised for it. And what I think happens is it completely disconnects us from our bodies. We have
Oh, yeah.
no idea when we are regulated, and then it sets us up for a lifetime of having our boundaries crossed, of being taken advantage of, and then you're married to a narcissist and you're like, "Wait, what's this about?" I
My
really think it
first
is
long
that deep.
relationship was like that, and it took me years to come back from that, and, I mean, it's just another example of that. So, it's so
It is
common
it is that deep.
when you are, and that's where the masking doesn't come out of nowhere, it's programmed
Mhm.
because your authentic self isn't
Valued.
accepted, and then
No.
that teaches you not to accept yourself, and so when you become an adult, I know I had all kinds of behaviors in my 20s that I wouldn't recommend to anyone, so.
Yeah, I mean, that I have a lot to apologize when I look back. And then it's interesting, a lot of us end up studying psychology and going into this space,
That's true.
which is what my undergrad degree was in. I went straight into psychology, and I think for girls, what our hyper focus becomes is people and behaviors, because we're trying to keep ourselves safe, because that's if you're okay enough to function, if you can turn in your homework, if you can, copy and mirror what other people are doing, they don't see how taxing that is at the end of the
And
day.
that gives you a really unstable sense of self too. I'm not talking bad about that because I look back and I always thought I know what my personality is, but once I got my diagnosis, like, this whole person emerged truly out of its chrysalis. So
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
yeah, it's definitely, I mean, an overlap. I wanna say that, like, the neurodivergence and the trauma overlap so much, like, in this process to where it can affect your sense of self. So by studying other people, we're trying to study who's this. We
Mhm.
may think we know who we are because it's so embedded under the mask.
Mhm. Mhm. And
So we're
yeah,
really trying to take that mask off in a way too by focusing so much on other people, I think.
yeah, and putting a name to like, what we had been enduring, like,
Mhm.
forever. And, like, when it kind of clicked, because I would be joking around. I'd be in IEP meetings, we have a lot in common, me and this student and stuff. And, like, all of the supports I was putting in place was actually really helping me as well. And once it kind of clicks in place, and you're like, this was not me. This was something that I needed support in. I really did have to, like, come to terms with the fact, like, you don't have a personality, girl. You are just a combination of trauma responses. like,
Hey, that person's still in there, you just have to do a little digging.
yeah. And it really was trying to go as far back in and meeting that little girl and being like, girl, what
Yeah,
do you like? What do
you
you
gotta talk
like?
to her.
Yes.
You gotta tell her she's awesome, and she'll tell
Love
you
her
you're
up.
awesome, and
Yes. Yeah.
every
Well,
day.
I would love to ask you if we can dig into specifically your past. When you look back now, what signs of neurodivergence seem so obvious to you that were missed throughout your childhood and even throughout your early adulthood?
What a great question. I mean, I start with the childhood part of it when I think about, like I said, having so many meltdowns and struggles with transitioning, like between environments. I couldn't go any A point to a B point without tremendous difficulty and tears. Again, being a hyperlexic child, so just that giftedness to me is just a symptom of the neurodivergence that was undiagnosed. Really, like preferring to play alone is a sign. So like it's not a bad thing, but if your kid is always in the yard picking up bugs and rocks, like may not just be a nerd about bugs and rocks, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
I wasn't very like stimmy, but I think as a female, sometimes we're not because we're taught to repress our physical stims more than boys,
Mm-hmm.
just to equalize that
Mm.
quite a bit. But like mutism, I remember there was one year in middle school I didn't talk for a whole year just because I was overwhelmed every day. And then
I would love for you to go
eloping.
into that, the mutism, because I don't think that people even recognize that as not being bratty or stubborn. Because I get mute. I don't know how to say it. I'll my mom will call and I'll write and I'll text it back and be like, I can't find my voice. And that's how I know how to say it. But
I like
for
that.
but for kids, I see it in my youngest, and it's like you hit this point of dysregulation,
You're a good mom.
thank you. And he loses access to his language. He cannot speak. And that when that would happen to you, especially middle school, which is such a tender time, how did people perceive that? Was that perceived as like, oh, she's struggling? Or was that perceived as like, why is she being the brat? Like, why isn't she just talking?
So, I mean, at school, nobody cared. I went to a huge school. I mean, I had good friends, but they just thought she's still being quiet and she's kind of a weirdo. That's okay. My friends were kind of different too, so it was
Yeah.
fine. But like when I got home, and a lot of my mutism was from my home environment, but when I got in the car after school, my mom or my dad, like whatever parent, or if it was my sibling, like whoever it was, would notice. And one person in particular would get very angry every day. Every time I dreaded going home because I would get yelled at because I wouldn't talk. And I just remember trying to pull the words out of my chest through my throat into my mouth. And that's dyspraxia too, because mind and body are the same. So
And you
it's
were
not a
probably
choice.
anticipating the anger, which made
Mhm.
you more nervous, which made you lose, like, more access to being able to express yourself, and it's just like this
It was
loop.
taken personally, which to me,
Yeah.
I'm like, I need you right now. This is
Yes.
ridiculous.
I'm sorry, I know that's why when you said it, like, it's never talked about. I never really hear anyone talk about it, and I wanna highlight that because I think it causes
Well,
a lot
text
of.
me anytime. No, I'm just kidding. I might
Yes,
not
no.
respond if I can't find the words, but
No, for real, but, like, I think that we just to kids that's what this is for, like, let's normalize these experiences
yeah,
because I think it can save other kiddos from the trauma of being misunderstood.
absolutely. I mean, and I think mutism is one of the most misunderstood because I recently looked up an article about, I forget his name, but he goes to Harvard and he's a PhD candidate. And he went to Berkeley before that, and he went all on, like, a keyboard because the nature of his autism is that he could never speak. So I think
Okay.
we need to appreciate the spectrum of mutism, that some of us are selectively mute. That doesn't mean we're selectively being mute. It means
Yeah.
our DNA is selecting us or something, like,
It makes
affirming.
it sound like it's way more of a conscious choice than what it really is. And
But
it
there are
and
people who thrive with no words at all. So what does
Mhm.
that mean? What does Helen Keller mean? Why do we look at somebody who's partially mute and suddenly it's their fault?
Yeah.
But if they're born that way, then oh pity
And
them.
also, I don't know if you feel it, but, like, I feel some shame when I get to the point where I'm
I
like,
always do.
I don't wanna talk anymore, and, like, I feel like I'm being such a bitch, but I'm just like, "Oh my god." Anyone ask me a question and I feel anger because 'cause I'm like, "Don't put me in this situation where I have to talk."
Right.
And then if I don't talk, then I'm being an asshole, and now I'm an asshole, like,
Yeah. And you
it's a.
wish you had a sign that said, "Don't talk to me, I'm an asshole."
Yes, right?
Today.
And in reality, all it is I got pushed too far. I have too many tabs open in my brain right now. And like, I can't even process what you're asking me to answer right now. Like it's
Which
much
it makes
less.
sense even for neurotypicals to go,
Yeah.
like, be overwhelmed and then be like, "I need a minute," But I
And
think because we try to push through and we're taught
yeah,
that
it's the
you have
pushing
to hide
through.
it. Yeah.
And
And
it's
women too, or people with the uterus
always,
at
yes.
birth, like, yeah, that's the philosophy that delays the diagnosis of the other things we were talking about.
Mhm.
What you originally messaged me about was, the PCOS and the
Mhm.
PMOS and the name change, and that was one of the big things we wanted to talk about because those things get delayed, and then there's also overlap with the neurodivergence and the trauma possibly, so all 3 of those things, but the name change is if I
Huge.
could talk a little bit about
I was
it.
just gonna say, should we just jump into it? Because we
It's up to
both
you.
have were you dealing with hormone issues your whole life, like, as soon as you started your period?
Mhm.
Me as
And
well.
I just had a surgery recently, and my surgeon for endo, like, the first one I've had, and I feel so much better, but
Yeah.
he said, "You could have had this since you were a teenager," and my mind was just like, "So, like, do you mean maybe even as almost as primary as the neurodivergence,
Yeah.
before all the trauma at the industry happened?" You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's just because I was a early bloomer, so by 4th grade on for 9 years old until right now, every month is physically awful, draining like crazy, but that was just normal. It
I
was
would call
just
mine psychotic rage, but that's that
it
too.
was well, it was, and that's the feedback I would be given. Like,
You got told
yeah,
that?
yeah, and unfortunately, the ups and downs are so intense that I am hormonally crazy, but then to have that used against you to abuse you with is, I think, also a big part of this because we feel so much shame that, like, I struggle so much. I have like 1 week, maybe 2 good weeks a month, and then I'm back in my, PMDD cycle and stuff. And so it does go right it attaches right to that masking part where it's like you're having to pretend that, like, I don't feel like I'm just, like, dying right now. Like, no, it's fine. Like, I would love to hear your little story about your weekend. Yes,
But
please.
yeah, that's the story of my life. No, just kidding. But that's the whole yeah, pushing through all
Mhm.
of it. That's the whole thing too with the PCOS and, like, I mean, arguably, maybe it was endo even back then. I just think it's so interesting how little, like, I even knew about it, let alone my healthcare professionals that I went through, like, 6 of them over the past 6 years.
Yeah.
It's been an actual real struggle for me and my partner, like,
So can I
so
ask you, how did you get that affirmed? Because I was lucky enough that I was in a small town and she was a girl and the lady doctor, she was the first person who believed me that it was more than just heavy periods. And she actually started by doing an ultrasound on my ovaries. That's how I got the hard diagnosis. And then we did the blood test. So
good.
I was really lucky because before the doctor just put me straight on birth control. And then the doctor
Me
after
too.
her also just put me straight on birth
Yep.
control, even
That's
though
what they always wanna do. I
yes.
mean,
And I tried
good
to tell him, like,
course.
this literally makes me want to kill myself. Like, birth
Absolutely,
control
yeah.
is awful for me.
So the
So
birth
how did
control made mine endo worse. I was,
I
like, one of
thought
the
it does. I was like,
percentage
this makes it worse. So how
because
did you
estrogen facilitates the growth of the lesions in some people, probably neurodivergent people. Who
right?
knows? I mean, there's no studies, so
So that was my journey. I was lucky that
there's
I
a
was
few.
grounded with with someone who believed me and then who actually checked instead
Right,
of being
right,
like,
right.
"You're Portuguese, you just have hair because you're Portuguese." Like, someone who believed me. So who believed you? How did you actually get on the path of, like, no, this is kind of what's going on with my
So
body?
that was only this summer after years and years and years, like
Just
2
this
year like,
summer?
just, like, a year ago, I had, I think, something burst so bad that, like, I wouldn't stop hemorrhaging, and they almost had to
Oh
give
my
me a
god.
blood transfusion. Unfortunately, this smart ER doc put me on a progesterone or something to stop the bleeding, but I was still, like, I'm having these issues. Like, I had all this hip and, like, pain in my spine and, like, my hip and my left leg. thigh. And so anyway, it was just this summer. Somebody on Instagram, shout out, I don't know, I asked her, and thank God I did, because she always talks about it. She's very open about it. And
Yeah.
I just love her. But she's like, you need to go see a specialist. Power of community.
No, for real.
For real. And I went to a specialist, and he's like, I showed him my records, and he was like, yeah, when do you want to do the surgery? Like, he didn't even
Right away.
question it, like, question me.
How was
And
that though? It's like, how was that to finally feel valid, like to have someone validate that not only you are in pain, but then also like, oh my God, you've been in pain for so long. This is so bad.
so I want to say it was so like affirming. It was such a relief. I was so glad, and I felt so justified and validated and everything and all of that. But then I got really depressed about it. Like, no joke. This made me so, kind of like with the autism, like made me so mad.
Yeah.
And then I was like, why did this take so long? And at least I'm validated by my partner too. He's kind of like, well, yeah, that was all bullshit.
Yeah.
And we're gonna send them shitty cards for Christmas time. Not celebrating personally, but just send them like a
The
nasty
picture of it.
anti-thank you card. Make
Yeah. Like
my endometriosis worse.
you should send them a summary of the surgery. Like, by the way, what you told me
Yeah.
was nothing.
So can I tell you what was what was in there?
What?
It was a para-ovarian cyst with torsion. I don't know how long it was in there. He had to cut out a part of one of my tubes to get
Oh,
it out. It was
no.
adhered to the back of my uterus, and then get that off, cut it out because it was wrapped. And he said he noticed because the, like, the end of it's like kind of,
Like
sorry.
flowery.
Well, he couldn't, so it was getting like, I think it was almost gonna be like where it
Holy,
dies.
oh my gosh. That's
Right, like, so all that time, although I had so many ultrasounds, so many fucking CT scans, and just, like, everything
they
you could think of,
they never caught it.
different hospitals, different clinics, nobody ever noticed. And I almost don't wanna blame for this one, because when it was, like, sorry, it's paratubal, not para-ovarian, so it was, like, in between the ovary and, like, the rest of it. So, it's almost like it doesn't show up on the scan as much, but I almost feel like they should be looking for that,
Well,
because it was,
especially yeah, well, and especially now we know that it can leave the uterus. Like, they've been finding endometriosis, like, in lungs, like, in
yes,
we need to and,
in men.
maybe we need to study this. We put 5 times more money into erectile dysfunction than
Maybe
in
every doctor should
endometriosis,
attend a seminar once a year.
right? Like, maybe
It's
this
not
is
a lot to
something
ask.
yeah, this seems like it and it affects so many people. It
It
affects
does.
so
You wanna
many
hear something
people.
crazy?
Yeah,
Like,
always.
apparently the cyst of that nature, particular type of cyst, it could form out of, like, the structures inside, like, you when you were forming in your mom's womb.
Whoa.
There was, like, residual, so, like, the Wolffian and the Mullerian ducts are, like, the universal template. It could turn into a female or male
Yeah.
genital, whatever, so it could go either way depending on how much testosterone is released in the womb. But apparently if you become so there's a lot to do with hormones with this, and when you become female, supposedly, when they assign that to you, yeah, there could be, like, these little pieces that, like, that if you got pregnant, which I never have, maybe they would've, you know, formed and, assimilated, but they kinda turned into a cyst. I'm not sure if that's what happened to me. I just read that when I was reading about paratubal.
Yeah.
Just
And so, like, so
wild.
painful. And that's another thing, like, it is
Our bodies
so
are different is kinda my
it's
point with that.
different, and it's hereditary. Like,
Mhm.
if you like and so my mom, she is so classic textbook, someone who has PCOS, but when they ultrasound her ovaries, she didn't have a cyst, so they're like, "No, you don't have it." And I'm like, "Okay." So, but, like, think about the fact that how genetic neurodivergence is, how genetic PCOS is, and to think about, like, how it is connected with, like, hormones being regulated, but if you're neurodivergent, you're gonna be dysregulated, so that's
Yeah,
gonna be like, it's like, which
yeah,
came first, the hormone disease or
exactly.
the neurodivergence?
Exactly, and I don't
And
even know if it's a which came first or a this is all one thing. let's stop breaking it apart type of
Yes.
thing.
Yeah, like, let's understand how this means to the whole
Whole thing.
system. Yeah, the whole and all like, just in terms of, like, our humanity, like, when I have a cyst like, I had so many cysts, like, it was undeniable, and the way that she explained it to me is that, like, what's going on is I will go months without releasing an egg, and then suddenly I'll release a gazillion eggs, like, so many
Gosh,
eggs.
that's wild.
And so what happens with those eggs that don't get enough hormones to release, that's what becomes the cyst. So mine
Oh, that
so
makes so much sense.
it's been a long time. It's been before both my it's been decades. So who knows what's happening up in there. But at this point all of my cysts were contained to my inside my ovaries, and I would be in so much pain, and we would just have to kind of guess like, "Oh, is this cyst popping?" And they'd be like, "Well, it's going to reabsorb, so you're fine." And it's just like, so what's the line between like actual pain and this is just pain I have to endure and this is like
Have you ever
life-threatening pain?
reabsorbed one lately? Like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, and now and as I'm walking into this new phase of where I'm having a lot of pain with ovulation too. And I'm
yeah.
like, "Okay, once a month was enough. Like now we're going to do this both." So I mean, how are you supposed to be regulated and calm when like you're constantly like being knocked off by your body, and we feel things so differently, like the way that I process pain is different. I wonder if it's the same for you. Like it is
Yeah,
just it makes it another thing disconnecting me from my body.
absolutely. I am absolutely sure there's a part of this journey where I would have gotten help sooner if I felt my pain more or
Yes.
didn't not feel it until it was, like, absolutely crushing and didn't feel it
Yeah.
until then, you know, because
When it's, like, no
that's
longer an option, like, I cannot
yeah.
ignore this anymore.
I think ignoring it is a good way to put it because some people wanna be like, "Women, they have a higher pain tolerance," or like, "You don't feel pain, you're autistic." No, I am able to push through it
Yeah.
more than the average bear.
And, like, yeah, maybe we are tougher. Like,
I mean, we're tougher, we don't
we've
age.
never been given a soft life. Like,
What else is the pros of having autism and
you know what? I love that is my favorite game to play because I love to talk with my kids about how beautiful their brains are.
yeah,
And
I
I'm
love
and
that.
I'm and I'm just like,
I wanna go to your house for dinner.
I'm like, "You know what, dude? Like, yeah, maybe you do feel everything so deeply, but you know what else? No one else is gonna be as happy when they see something beautiful like you do. We get
Yeah,
distracted by a butterfly, and we mean it. And, like, no matter what my mood was in, I could be surly, I could be uncomfortable, I could be in period cramps, and then see a beautiful butterfly, and literally, it transports me out of that body to being fully obsessed with what I am seeing and
that's such a beautiful story.
and I think that that is something that neurodivergence can do. We do push through so hard, but also, like, it's almost like I can, I guess, compartmentalize, but, like, we can really dig ourselves deep into, like, being out of our body and, like, into a different experience, which is probably not good. Like, probably
And
disassociation.
sometimes yeah, right? So it's like that double-edged thing, but, you feel so much more pain, but I'm not trying to say it's better or worse, but we do feel so much more joy in a particular moment,
Yes.
like a moment like that.
Yeah, and I like, won't it be beautiful when we normalize this enough where when we see a child flapping, we see it as an expression of joy. And
Yes!
and we like encourage it and we're just like, "Oh my God, like
I just
look at
started
that."
stimming around my partner, like, since
Yeah.
I got my diagnosis, and he's like, "Oh, it's that time of the night."
Yes. There like you'll never know a joy of like when
And
you accidentally like stem someone else off. Like me, like we'll be doing something all in the same room and suddenly someone does an audio stem and all of a sudden we're both all like
sometimes
like
it's just better together, and
yes.
I agree, I hope everybody can feel what that's like
And
because I
I mean
didn't for a long time.
you see it I'm seeing it online more. I'm seeing more people stemming with other neurodivergent people. And how I kind of look at it is that, like, look, they're not using any words, like they're connecting, and it feels like it is like how fungus are connected under the surface.
I like that. Yeah.
Like, because when I'm stemming with someone,
The
or if I,
mycellular networks.
yes, because when
Yeah.
we can talk and we're talking over each other and you're on my level and we are so hyper focused on this
Heck yeah.
conversation, like, I feel so deeply connected to neurodivergence in a way that I don't find connection elsewhere. And I think that that is one of the beautiful things about being neurodivergent.
I agree with you so much.
And then let's go take a hard left into some hard topics. That was just way too positive. We need to get back into the angsty
Back
stuff.
to the dark stuff.
Yeah,
please.
I'm too Scorpio
Nobody
for all of
wants
this
to
smiling.
see the happy stuff.
No. We got to bring it back to the dark stuff. Come on, let's walk it back.
Back to business.
If you don't mind, can we go into the fact that you've talked about and shared some experience of being in the troubled teen industry? And I've had another amazing guest who, she's also a therapist who focuses on that because that was her background too. And I feel like I am so attracted to you guys because what you're doing and the way you're alchemizing such a terrible, awful, hard experience, and then not only like not letting that consume you and like be the story, but taking that and then using it as your tool to help other people. There is no higher level of amazing people. Like, that is like the epitome of like a self-actualized person. So like, I would just love to hear your story and like how you took all of that and how you did take that, and instead of being angry about it, how you're using that as motivation and fuel to push yourself through a program that's really hard and not at all neurodivergent inclusive, and you're causing yourself stress because you want to help. And I think that's beautiful, and I just love to open the floor and for you to share that.
Yeah. Well, thank you. It's so nice when I get to talk to people like who even know about it. There was a time where many years where that wasn't the case. So yeah, and don't get me wrong, there was times where I was consumed by it, and to this day there may still be times, very much briefer, where I get
Yeah.
consumed by it, and that's never going to go away for me. It's just not. But like you said, alchemizing it and turning it into all of these interviews that I've done, or like research projects, or just trying to raise awareness, different ways of advocating and just connecting with survivors actually was my biggest step into finding out I was autistic. I read
That
a
was
book.
your string.
That was
How
the beginning.
interesting.
And I read a book by a survivor who had a similar story as mine. And I was just, a part of me just unlocked. So I knew that it wasn't all going to be bad for me by connecting to other survivors, right?
I love that.
But then, it is going to be an uphill battle with that stuff. And I try to remind myself, like with my program, even though lately I've been bored and want to quit, the end goal, the end game is that I want to use it to work with neurodivergent people.
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
not to get caught up in, a couple of the steps along the way that I have to go through the hoops. And also there's good that I can take out of it, but there's a part of me that from when I was a kid that would like kind of shut down when I felt bored or rejected.
Yeah.
I think that's still what's going on.
I watched a video, someone explaining how painful classes can be, because it's like, you gave us the syllabus, we understand now. Like, we don't need to come every week and hear the same thing. We don't need the same kind of repetition that a neurotypical would mean.
Exactly. That's what I'm going through right now. It's
You're
like,
really, you're in
what's the
boredom.
structure of this class?
And let's also normalize that boredom is processed like physical
Right.
pain. So you are literally putting yourself like in pins and needles because you're trying to reach this goal, and it's like, you gave me the syllabus. Like, what?
Well, starting in the fall, I'll be taking some more meat and potatoes classes that are
Nice.
really core. So I'll probably be a lot more engaged again.
Something will like tweak that hyper focus, and you'll be back in
And
the
it's
game.
not, I'm going to find a way to do things and do something related, because that's area of need in our whole world.
I so agree. I think that the way we see kids and the way that we treat kids is the first step to changing anything. So what do you wish that more people did understand about how undiagnosed neurodivergent kids have been historically misunderstood or mislabeled? Because I know we both have been mislabeled while we were
Yes.
undiagnosed.
Yes, we have, and I love this question. To me, obviously, they're tied together, and what I wish more people understood, about undiagnosed kids ending up in the troubled teen industry is, well, that they're probably undiagnosed, but even if they are diagnosed, the industry is not neurodivergent friendly in a way that, like, for example, I feel like I probably suffered triple compared to, like, a peer who was neurotypical
Mhm.
because all of my real needs were dishonored. It
Mhm.
was
Mhm.
loud, it was bright, I had to eat gross textured food, and I had no joy.
Mhm.
That was already tacked onto the abuse and the excessive restraint that they use and chemical restraint and everything people have been hearing about, seclusion. Just ask anytime if you wanna hear my stories about that stuff, but what I really wanna focus on is that even some kids die. I just saw a video of another survivor saying it was around, we don't have exact numbers, right? Because this
Mhm.
industry is going on a long time.
Yeah.
Maybe like 400, rough estimate.
Ugh.
You have to fact check me on that, but I know I've seen lists and it's a lot of
Oh, yeah.
unknown reason, unknown. So it's not made, you can't make this stuff up. There's a lot of under and overdiagnosis in the industry, I think. So, and in the world, like in just regular, like when you go into the healthcare system to get help. So, like not being properly labeled, even though we don't like to be reduced to a label, but
Yeah.
properly labeled, is common and also can be devastating, and I know that that was very common in the '90s and 2000s, and
Oh,
I think
yeah.
it's changed.
I think
So
so too, and I think it's because specifically women are being loud about it.
yeah.
Because how many women have been diagnosed with personality disorders because they were neurodivergent? Or, and yes, we don't want to be reduced to labels, but people are going to label you anyways, and how I see it is it's really less about the label and more about the understanding of how your brain works, and that label is going to give you different medication, and that matters. Like, it matters. I have been medicated for anxiety, for depression, for also for PCOS. I've had the hormone, the spirolactin, all of those things, and it never helped. It made it worse. And then it was like, oh, I'm just a failure. Like you said, there is so much misdiagnosing. And I think that becomes from not even knowing what neurodivergence really looks like if you're not just a white cis male.
Yep, you said it in a nutshell, that one.
Too much.
I agree. Yeah. See, we have mics now.
I know. I
It's
know.
enough of that.
Well, it just looks so different. It looks so different in girls, and it looks so
I mean,
different in
raising our voices is how we change that. I mean, just
Mhm.
like you
Yeah,
said.
and like you said, you're starting to stim in front of your partner, and it's like, I get on here, and I'm trying to stim, and
Usually it's cricket legs. I mean,
I
they
thought
do that,
everyone did
like
that. I thought everyone did that. Like,
sometimes it's
well,
like this, but usually
how
it's like
my
that at night, like I'm doing some synchronized swimming,
mine are my feeties.
or
Like, I might
sometimes
as well be an
yeah,
old man going, "Yes."
that's the cricket effect.
I love it. And, like, all of these fun things about ourselves, like, it's fun to be able to attribute, like, yeah, that's also because of my neurodivergence. I think it's important to continue to say, like, we're evolving PCOS. I think we need to now evolve what does neurodivergence look like in people too.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it, and that kind of makes me think about that article I wanted to bring up too about the hypermobility. I read this study a year ago, it, like, blew my mind. It was from England, and it was a smaller study, but they found some compelling correlations between hypermobility, neurodivergence, and bipolar disorder in there. And
That's
so
they've definitely tried to hook bipolar on me. I'm like, "No,
well, they've been yeah, me too.
it's not cyclical." I'm like, "Listen, this is not cyclical enough." Like, unfortunately, I know that that's not the case, and that was the last misdiagnosis that they had for me. But it is quite interesting how I feel like Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is becoming into the spotlight, and I
Well,
think that
connective tissue, like, there's something about our vessels that don't, like, constrict all the way and the way the blood flows and the structures and everything.
yeah,
It's like interesting to me because, like, I'm entering this phase where I'm looking at my body as not separate from my mind because, like,
Mhm.
we try to say neurodivergent, like, it's as if neuro meant it's, like, our fault or
Yeah.
something. But our
Yeah.
bodies and our minds are, like, more of the same thing. It takes some of the pathology away when, like I wonder if there was, like, more somatic, treatment
Therapies.
instead of, like, trying to constantly adjust behaviors.
I know, and something before I was leaving education, like, the ABA therapies is something that, like, I really have to go back and be like, "Ah, I don't know if I feel aligned with that," because like, I was told to stop flapping, to give an
Yeah,
alternate behavior, and it's like,
you knew how it felt.
yeah, well, and at the time, like, I really did believe, like, it was like, well, because we want her to fit in, and it was like, okay, like, I can see that, and that was in my earlier teaching degree, but, like, at towards the end of my teaching career, it was more like no, I teach the entire class. If you see someone flapping, they're just getting energy out of
Or
their
did
body.
you
Leave them
feel like
alone.
you fit in more when you were holding your arms from flapping,
Right? Right?
right?
And, like, my stems were more oral, like, I was biting my nails all the time. I would give myself hickeys and stuff, and we would be reprimanded, and now, or it's hair fidgeting, which is just like,
Well,
look at
I got this one strand and I just, like,
yeah,
twirl it into the
yeah, and so people don't see this as stimming. They're just like,
right,
"What a ditzy girl," and I'm just like,
exactly.
so I just love that like you said, we have microphones now. It looks
Yes,
different. Just because we're not obsessed with trains, like, doesn't mean that we don't
we were
also.
obsessed with our makeup before, and I used to wear,
Me
like,
too.
my outfits. I got called like, a fashion diva, like, "Come on, let's go, gotta go
But
already," and
it
I'm
was
just like, "No,
so
I'm doing some dopamine dressing. You're
you
gonna
don't
have to wait."
understand. These MAC
The
colors are the
process.
brightest colors I've ever seen, and if I don't have bright blue MAC eyeshadow, oh god.
Well,
Thank God
yeah.
I thank God I didn't have a social media back then, like,
I know there
before.
was things that properly went away into the abyss of
Yeah.
not being documented.
No one needs to know
No
about
one
that, or
needed to see that.
no. Well, I know we're getting close to the 1 hour mark, and I can talk to you forever, but I want to respect your time. So I
Sure.
wanted to ask you about a little bit end with our chronic illness, because I think that that's something that we just deal with, like, a lot when you are neurodivergent and you have all of these other things that kind of hinder. So we once described self-care as kind of being a part-time job, which I think that every neurodivergent person or chronically ill person like immediately understands that. So tell us your tricks. Like, what sustainable self-care look like for you that we can walk away and maybe just try without any pressure?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, for me, it's actually lately been more of an attitude shift of just being super compassionate with myself. I feel like that's the foundation. If I can practice this, it's radical self-compassion, but it's also like in a cool way. It's kind of like an activist thing to do. I read this quote by Devon Price, Unmasking Autism. Devon Price. They're a social psychologist, and they wrote a book about unmasking autism, and I may, like, botch the quote too. Sometimes I just, like, go too
That's
fast, but,
that's okay.
um, they were, like, saying I recently discovered I'm non-binary too, so it shows you how, like, programmed it is, but I haven't
Yes.
even gotten to my pronouns yet, but
We're gonna have to talk a little bit more about that, because I'm walking that line right now.
but
Where
yeah, my
because
partner is all on board. He's like I couldn't believe it. He's like, "Yeah." He's like, I just always support everything about you."
well, it's funny because it's like when you're masking, I didn't think about it. Like, and so it's fun. I'm like pushing my 40s, being like, like, I don't feel like I don't feel like I care that much, but I also feel like I'm almost 40. No one wants.
Unexpected topic, I like it.
Do you know? Yeah, sorry. Can we go on this? Like,
I
but
wanna go on this. I love
like,
it.
but because I was just doing what I thought the script was. Like, I
Yeah.
am and I was in a Catholic
That's
school.
another one of my dominoes. Catholic
Yeah.
school. Yeah.
It didn't even cross my mind. So now, like, as I'm in my late 30s, and I'm looking at women like young Miko, like Snow the Product, like, and I said that's so white. I know I just said her name so white, but I'm not even gonna try to say it cool. And like Billie Eilish, but all
Yes.
these young girls who are dressing non-feminine,
They're
who
visible.
visibly non-femme and
Yeah,
not
they're
trying to
visible.
dress for like the male eye at all. And I was
If I was
that.
them today, I would be that way, I
Me
think.
too. That's what I try to explain. I'm like, the thing is that like I didn't think about this because I didn't have any examples. And sometimes I feel like, God, how I feel so childish that's like, oh, I didn't think about that. Like, but I sometimes do need to see an example of like, oh, that's allowed. I can dress like that. Like, I don't have to be in tight, uncomfortable clothes. I can
Well,
wear
yeah,
baggy
and
clothes.
there's definitely a social norm. There's definitely a force going on with that too, of, like, you're supposed to be this way as a l like, when I was growing up, be a lady. I did not wanna be a flippin' lady or
Are you
wear
kidding?
a
I mean, like,
dress, so
all I saw was Misha Barton's hip bones, and I was like, "Okay, I guess that's what I have to look like." Like, "Oh, okay." Like, my jeans don't
and there
fit.
was, like, one model for how to look like a like a female person
Guess
or
whose
any,
body
like,
is
type
not
of
that?
person you're supposed to be, like,
Yes, yeah,
mine
and
was
w
never
no, I was
never gonna happen.
never gonna happen. Like, it was never gonna happen, and I thought it was my fault that I was fat instead of the fact that, like, "No, bitch, you have a connective tissue disorder, you're always gonna have it doesn't matter how much you don't eat, you're always gonna have cellulite because
I
that's the
love seeing more body types, though, be
right? Yes.
represented.
I'm sad we're
I
going
f I
backwards.
that destroyed me when I was young. Every magazine I got in the mail, I would, yeah, I
Those
developed
Victoria's
sticky
Secret model magazines, I was obsessed with them, and I'm 5'4" on when I wake up. Like, I'm sorry, bitch, like, you're not
You
gonna
can
look
wear
like that.
stilts. Fuck it.
But, like, it was
Do
just
what you want.
do you know what I mean? Like, I think that because I was so rule following, I didn't know that there was another way to be a girl, and so I think that
And you'd
and
be punished if you tried.
yeah,
I
and
wanna
that was
keep
how I
saying
got my
that.
acceptance, like, girls
Yeah.
didn't like me, they knew something was wrong with me, but I got attention from boys, and then the girls would be nice to me, so it was like
I did have a real, not even hidden, I don't know what kind of relationship it was with my friend who was also a girl. That, like, the whole high school, like, knew about it, and we would just, like, flaunt it on purpose to piss people
good
off,
for
and
you,
we
I
weren't
love
even
that,
sure what it was. Sometimes, something
but
may
good for
happen, maybe it
you,
wouldn't,
you had that in you to be like, "Fuck the
but we
system,"
didn't
like
have models either,
yeah,
I'm sure, like, people who especially when you're in high school and that starts to come out, that
mhm.
should be embraced at that stage, not extra shut down. I mean, in the troubled teen industry, there's still conversion therapy in some places.
No, there's
That
not.
is not
Are we
okay,
still doing that?
or
Is that still a
attitudes of
thing?
that,
Oh, yeah, it was, like, naughty it wa there is
that's
also
not
something to it
directly.
to being, like, non-existent. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's also it where it's, like, the attitude is, like, it doesn't even exist, and so it's just, like, oh, like,
People are
you're
just in a bubble in their head, aren't they?
yes, and I live in very small bubbles, and so it can be really hard because even I say now, like, I've since learning about my neurodivergence, pulling that thing, my entire life falling apart and rebuilding, which I'm on my 4th year of that. And, like, I'm looking different, I'm dressing different, I don't do my
Isn't
hair
that
anymore.
crazy how that starts to happen?
I'm completely different. Like, I don't know how to do makeup anymore because I'm like, this makeup doesn't feel it feels like an old mask that doesn't fit.
Yeah, and
And
why,
stuff
and sensory, why would I don't
yes.
like the way it
I
feels.
I don't straighten my hair anymore. I'm like, "No, like, I don't wear tight clothes anymore," and I let myself gain so much fucking weight. And,
That's so
like,
beautiful. Good for you.
sure, I hate
Go
myself,
for
but
it.
I'm also but then when I'm
Don't
like,
hate yourself. I gained a bunch recently too, and I
I
say that, and I feel the same way about myself. I'm like, "Good for you, girl," and
we are like, we're millennials who are breaking through so much programming
I
from that
know.
what we grew up in, and but
It's
like
so
you
funny
said
how you can say, like, something so affirming to someone else and then just destroy yourself on the
yeah.
inside like
Oh,
I'm a
yeah.
gremlin. Like,
I'm
why
positive,
feel
like,
that way?
if I was on GLPs, my podcast would be so much more famous, it's like, the stories we tell ourselves, but like you said, it is I always before I go towards, like, push myself towards that, like, stop eating bitch, like, like, open up that door, like you said, it's advocacy because I'm like, ew, I'm not going to uphold PDF standards. Like, no, I am a woman. I am supposed to be soft. I'm supposed to be fleshy.
Preach.
I'm supposed to have hair where women have, and like, so it's like walking, I think as a neurodivergent, like we really do think of things that deep. Our appearance really
Yeah,
is that deep. Like, it's
that's
not just
true. I
like,
realize now people don't think that deeply about
no,
it.
it's not like ooh, I don't want to be gross. It's like, what am I upholding? And it's like, bitch, it's
But yeah,
armpit hair. And I'm like, you don't understand.
you don't get it. It's symbolic.
Let's have a dissertation about why
Yes.
we should, do you know what I mean? It really does go that deep. So I get the whole non-binary thing because it's like we don't just we don't just go with the flow and do what people tell us to do. Like we think about it.
And there's different ways of being non-binary. I never even had this language. So now that I'm older and a different generation has emerged and all of that, but also I've had the thread pulled to make that happen where even though I'm already in like this 7-year relationship and everything's good, I fortunately picked a person who is cool with that.
Yeah.
But that's my identity, that I just didn't have a language or the words for it until these kids come along and,
Yeah.
they give the right label to it.
Right. And it's almost like you have to get deeper than like the sensory issues that we're constantly dealing with. And sometimes like I can't even think about who I want to be if when I was always wearing tight clothes and that I didn't like and straightening, like every
Yeah,
day was a sensory meltdown because I was
yeah.
putting on this mask that didn't feel what, like I couldn't think about like, well, like who is that person that you want to represent and how would she look like, you know?
Well, I think going back to that quote, I think Devon Price was actually trans. But I wanna just humbly state I'm still learning a lot. Okay.
Me
I
too.
was yeah. But Unmasking Autism, they say not performing neurotypicality is an act of, radical, like, like
Resistance.
resistance to.
Oh, I love
So that's kind of the tone of
the book.
everything, I think, and the
What is
book.
the book called again? I feel like I need to read this.
So this one, show you my library.
Unmasking Autism.
Yep. So it's a very deeply personal and scholarly account of the damage caused by autistic and all people leading masked lives and how unmasking is essential to creating a self-determined, authentic life. This book changed my life
Did it?
just
Oh, that
because it's from the voice of somebody who went so long in academia as well, who was very successful on the outside and just tortured on the inside by that, and had a relative who was autistic and nobody ever thought. So I guess I would point out too, if you have if you have a relative who may fit the label or the traits, like you may wanna, and I think that's what the author says too, like you may wanna consider getting yourself assessed.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's the
it's
way
like
to change it, is to
and
get
like
more assessment.
like that's a step of the process too is like recognizing like you're not just like an autistic individual or neurodivergent individual, you're a part of a neurodivergent family. Like
Tribe. That's my other book,
it
NeuroTribes. Oh, and you said you were asking about self-care, so I recommend Dr. Megan Anna Neff is a psychologist who's late diagnosed. She has so many resources.
I've
Her
heard about
website is
that.
neurodivergentinsights.com. This whole book is all self-care hacks for like autistic, but there's books for ADHD hacks and AuDHD hacks that I have too. Like, so I've recently gotten more into the ADHD hacks
I love
because
that. We need to because we need to share tips, like, we need to be in
yeah.
community with each other. I feel like that's, like it's like sharing our little like, "How have you been getting by?" Like, "How have you made it this far? What are your
Well, yeah,
tricks?"
radical self-compassion, and then I would say, like, rest and boundaries, which are totally like, if you've ever been labeled disabled, it rhymes, then you wanna be empowered by the fact that you can take care of yourself as much as
Mhm.
you can in those ways. It's not just good for your well-being, it's good for your, like, safety and, like,
Mhm.
just your
Sustainability.
health. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't know if you've been through a burnout. I feel like that's a big usually if you're
Oh,
diagnosed
yeah.
late in life, you experience a burnout,
I
and
had yeah.
a bit and that recovery is so rough, and it's
It's
so
rough because you
slow.
feel like always feel like just kind of a ghost afterwards,
Yeah,
like, it's
and
just
And we don't in our society, in this American culture, we have like done this biggest propaganda against resting. Like we don't value it. We don't see how much it's a part of like being a human being. We have a season of rest in winter and we still force ourselves, like we ignore the way our bodies change during the
Yes.
years. We're
So we
just,
need to customize like self-care in general, but also each person's nervous system should have a tailored like
yes.
approach to that. And then maybe we wouldn't even need all these pills and theories, but
Yeah.
I'm not going there that far yet. I just wanted to kind of throw that in there and say that like one of my favorite things is the concept of pre-rest. So like
Yeah,
it's
yes, I
basically
love
like
that.
you're resting whenever you can. Like you're it's like maybe I'll just watch something or take a nap. Oh, we don't have to push ourselves into hustle culture or even neurotypical culture. We can embrace who we are.
And I think it makes us more compassionate if we're honest. For in my house, we say energy levels, and like
Mm,
we do. Like I do express, and it's hard because my kids are little. They don't have an energy deficit, but I hope to normalize not only that women need different rest during their cycles and using those. I'm in my luteal phase. I need you to be more gentle with me. I do need more rest.
absolutely.
And just also normalizing like, "Hey, guys, like, I just socialized for, like, an hour. I'm gonna need 20 minutes of quiet." And we all put on our headphones and we honor that because then we're able to, like, not take it so personal. Like, this isn't a because I don't wanna hang out with you. This isn't because I don't
That's
love you.
amazing. I wish I grew up like that.
Me me too. Me too. Well, and the thing is that my mom obviously is undiagnosed and I'm very lucky that after 10 years of estrangement to set up those firm boundaries and letting my family back in my life,
Mhm.
they have been because they lost me, they've been very open to this new radical daughter that they have who
This true
lives.
self.
Yes, who lives but I'm very no nonsense. Like you can't talk certain ways around me and my kids. The language we use is very specific. You can't like
You
I'm
know, I
very
just wanna take my hat off to you right now because I harbor a lot of resentment for my upbringing and my mother and my father and everything but I also empathize with what they went through. Like, there's a lot of trauma in my
our
family lineage.
our double empathy is going to be the death of us.
But it is, but I just wanna say kudos because like, to how hard that is and also, like, executing that every time, like, establishing that boundary every time, like, on a every time basis is, like that is just next level, so
Yeah. Being a single mom, I need those support, but then also understanding that like children take everything that is said to them, every annoying eye roll, every huff, everything they take that in and perceive it as their own self-concept. And like I need them to understand that their brain is beautiful and perfect as it is. If it's inconvenient for someone
yeah.
else, that's their problem. Like we
Amen.
and also decenter yourselves. Like, why do you think you're the center of the world? Like, they could be having a
Exact
bad day
Is
because
that a
they're
generational thing, or is that
I mean,
just
I think that
personal
we were
thing?
raised by boomers who made themselves the center of the universe.
I
So,
think that
like
they still mine still do. That's mean to say. I
and
wanna get to your level where, maybe we need that support, but also how I need to cultivate more compassion for others because I get lost in my own
Well,
pain
and
and
to be fair, being a mom helped with that because I would look at my mom and she worked a full-time job and she would
yeah,
be laying all every weekend. She was just what
and
I see now as battling burnout.
yeah,
She was mute, but
exactly.
my child heart was like, my mom never hangs out with us. She just
That's
lays and
that's what
watches
happened with my
TV.
mom, and I think the undiagnosis has a big part of that. I
Huge
hope I
part.
can
And it was through my burnout and realizing, like, I physically can't do anything but lay. Like, I am so burnt out. It's all I can do to get out of bed to make 3 meals a day. It's all I can do to do the bare minimum. And I felt so much guilt, but that also
mm,
gave me so much compassion for all of the unsupported moms who are in these little nuclear families getting no support. And if you are
right,
an undiagnosed mom, it looks like being a shitty mom. Before I was
right?
diagnosed, I looked like my dysregulation looked like rage. It looked like impatience.
That's why they used to say sisterhood is so important, right? We're all
It's
in the
all
same
we
boat.
need it. We need it so badly, and at the same time, I have to label and be able to take accountability, like, I know this is so hard that mom doesn't have energy, and that's so hard for you. Thank you for being understanding that right now I need to rest. So that hopefully that they won't have that resentment that, like, mom never plays with us, mom doesn't care enough to get up, and instead understand that, like, everyone has capacity and we have to respect
Well, then
that.
even when you feel like you're physically burnt out, the connection is still there, and that's what the kids really
Yeah,
need,
it
or
and
what
it
I
can't
needed.
I think that that's why what you're doing is important because you know what it feels like. You had those experiences and you will be able to alchemize it while also holding the boundary because you're like, I know how much it hurts when like it's
True.
not when it's not done well, but also I understand the why and I can be compassionate.
The balancing of all of
The
those things.
balancing. So, what if there is one message that you hope that every listener walks away with after this beautiful conversation? What would you want them to walk away from your content feeling and thinking?
It's kind of on the heels of everything we just said just now, which is recognizing that we are a part of a community. Even if you felt alone, no matter how long you felt alone, you're not. There's so
Yes.
many books and movies and ways to get an assessment that you might not have known about. Or it's just amazing if you identify as either neurodivergent, chronically ill, or you struggle with uterus related, purportedly uterus related, but full body
Yes.
specific illnesses, that you're not alone. Progress is being made. So, yeah, just stay hopeful is what I tell myself. And also seeing down the line how those your body and your mind are connected.
I love it. I think that's so important. I think that when we heal that relationship with our body and our mind and we start having people take accountability for their own ableism, that's like when
Yeah.
we'll be able to heal the world. And like
And
when
that's the hard part, is calling out the ableism, like in the right way that's constructive, that's gonna make
you
like a
know what?
real.
Are they so gentle with us when they're correcting?
That's true,
Maybe
that's
we need
true.
to stop coddling.
Maybe I'm just afraid of, some sort of
Maybe you're just gonna
reaction.
maybe you're just gonna be a good therapist and I should
Okay, let's call it that. Oh,
well,
man, it was so nice talking to you.
it was such a pleasure to talk to you. I am going to put all your information on the show notes, but do you just want to give yourself a shout out so anyone who's listening can reach out to you? And also, I want to put out there for my listeners, if you have any questions for Lee, you can message them on my Patreon and I will make sure to get them to Lee and hopefully get you over on Patreon on our message boards. So we can glean
Absolutely.
any guidance from you. So
We
how can
will
people reach out to you?
continue a conversation. Well, you can reach me on Instagram. My current handle is at NeuroSpoonie because I decided I'm done separating the two.
Yay.
Mind and body are together.
I
And
love it.
kind of focus a lot on self-healing. I have my whole life. That's kind of like my theme. And so you can reach out to me there. But I also on there I hope people don't abuse it, but I have an email address and I have that on there. So if you wanted to reach out to me personally, I also recently am trying to start a neurodivergent slash Spoonie support group. I've led
Yay.
support groups in person in the past. This is new. I don't know if this is going to take off or not. So if you're interested in joining, there's a link in my bio for that too. The
Amazing.
first
Yes.
meeting is they're going to be meeting on Wednesday nights
Is it
if it
on,
works out.
like this, kinda like a Zoom
It's going to be
situation?
like this, except the platform is called Mental Happy. It's specifically for support groups.
Oh my god, I love that. I
And
need
I
to get
think
all
I want to return to community healing. I'm so
yes,
frustrated sometimes, and that always made me feel better.
I agree, and it gives us words for, like, those things we can't, like, explain
And
sometimes.
feeling empathy from
Yeah.
someone who just gets it is way different. That's why support groups exist. I'm an open book, so if you have any questions for me, feel free to ask. This was just so enjoyable. Thank
Thank
you.
thank you for riding that wave with me. I was like, "I'm too excited. Here we go. Let's go talk about this." I know I tried to go back to the questions, like, "Wait, ground yourself first. I
That's
have
the
these
nature of
questions."
like different neurodivergences, but we find a way to sync up. Like they say our cycles sync up, but I think our divergence syncs up.
Thank you so much for coming on and taking a chunk of your day today to be here with me. I really appreciate it.
It was so wonderful to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Lee, thank you so much for being here today. I genuinely appreciate your willingness to not only share your knowledge, but so much of your own story. I know these conversations aren't always easy, and I'm really grateful that you trusted this community with your experience. I think it's important to remember that when we zoom out and start looking at the whole person instead of the individual diagnosis, so much of what once felt confusing begins to make sense. And with understanding comes compassion, which is really what this podcast is all about. If today's conversation resonated with you, I'd love for you to go show Lee some love online. You can find her over on Instagram at NeuroSpoonie. It's at NeuroSpoonie. And if you're someone who's navigating late diagnosis, chronic illness, disability advocacy, or simply trying to understand yourself a little better, I think you'll really appreciate the work she's doing. And of course, I'll put all of her information in the show notes below for you to easily find. As always, if you enjoyed today's episode, it would mean the world to me if you followed the podcast wherever you're listening, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. And if you'd like to help keep this podcast going and help grow this little grassroots community, you can subscribe to the NeuroSpicy Mom Pod on Patreon, where your support directly helps me continue creating research-backed conversations like this one while building a more sustainable future for my little family and this incredible community we're creating together. Thank you so much for spending part of your day with us. Until next time, keep being curious, keep being gentle with yourself, and remember that understanding your nervous system isn't about finding what's wrong with you. It's about discovering what's always been true about you. Take care of yourself and take care of your nervous system. Ta-ta.